You woke up this morning and probably did something so normal that you did not even think about it. You ate breakfast. A few hours later, maybe around noon, you grabbed lunch. And tonight, like it has been decided by some invisible law of the universe, you will probably sit down for dinner, morning food, afternoon food, evening food, breakfast, lunch, dinner. It feels natural. It feels ancient. It feels like this is just what humans do. But here is the strange part. Nobody chose this schedule for you because your biology demanded exactly 3 meals. No doctor from the beginning of time wrote it down. No ancient human looked at the sunrise and said, yes, the body requires breakfast, lunch, and dinner forever. 3 meals a day is not a law of nature. It is a habit. And that habit has one of the weirdest backstories in human history. Because for most of our existence, humans did not eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They ate when food appeared. And sometimes food did not appear. To understand that, we need to go back far beyond restaurants, lunch boxes, office breaks, and cereal commercials. Around 23,000 years ago, on the shores of what is now the Sea of Galilee, there was a settlement called Ohalo II. Archaeologists found the remains of small brush huts there, simple shelters, hearths in the middle, traces of daily life frozen in time. And around those hearths they found something remarkable: seeds, nuts, fish bones, bird bones, small animal remains. More than 140 kinds of plant foods were found there. These people were hunter-gatherers, and their eating schedule would look completely strange to us. There was no breakfast at 8, no lunch break at 1, no dinner at 7. There was food when the hunt worked. There was food when the gathering went well. There was food when the lake, the plants, the birds, or the season allowed it. Some days may have been full. Some days may have been thin. Some days a group could feast. Other days they may have waited. For them, eating was not a routine. It was an event. It was the result of luck, skill, season, weather, memory, and survival. The idea that every day should be divided into 3 neat eating windows would have made no sense. Then, thousands of years later, everything changed. Agriculture arrived. Around 10,000 B.C.E., in the Fertile Crescent, people began growing food instead of only chasing it. Wheat, barley, lentils, animals stored grain. Food stopped moving away, so humans stopped moving as much too. Permanent settlements grew, villages formed, cooking became more organized. Communities gathered around stored food. And for the first time, humans could begin planning tomorrow's meal before tomorrow arrived. But even agriculture did not instantly create breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Different cultures still ate in different rhythms. The meal schedule depended on daylight, work, religion, class, climate, and what food was available. Ancient Egypt gives us one of the earliest clear pictures of structured eating. Many Egyptians seem to have eaten 2 main meals: a lighter morning meal, often bread and beer, and a heavier meal later in the day with vegetables, lentils, onions, fish, or whatever protein was available. 2 meals, not 3. The Greeks moved a little closer to something we might recognize. They had a small morning meal, often bread dipped in wine, then a midday meal, then a larger evening meal. But even there, it was not the perfect fixed schedule we imagine today. Not everyone ate all of them. Not every meal had the same importance, and eating was still shaped by class, work, and culture. Then come the Romans, and the Romans are surprising, because this was an empire of roads, armies, laws, aqueducts, records, and schedules. You might expect Rome to love a strict eating routine, but many Romans were suspicious of eating several meals a day. For a long time, the serious meal was one main meal, called cena, often eaten around midday or later. There might be a small morning bite. There might be a snack. But the idea of needing 3 complete meals would have sounded excessive to many of them. Eating too often could look like weakness, or indulgence, or gluttony. So if you had asked many ancient Romans whether 3 meals a day was normal, they might have looked at you the same way modern people look at someone eating cake for breakfast. Then centuries passed, Europe changed, Christianity shaped daily life, work shaped daily life, sunlight shaped daily life, and food still did not follow one universal pattern. In medieval Christian Europe, eating early in the morning was sometimes discouraged, especially before religious obligations. Breakfast was not always the heroic meal it later became. For many people, the first major meal came after morning duties, and the main meal of the day was often eaten around midday, when daylight was strongest and work could pause. Dinner, in many places, did not originally mean a late evening meal. It meant the main meal. And for a long time, that main meal happened much earlier than your dinner does now. Then European settlers arrived in the Americas and saw something that confused them. Native American food rhythms did not always fit European expectations. Many indigenous communities ate according to season, availability, hunger, ceremony, work, and environment. They could fast when needed. They could feast when food was abundant. They did not always organize the day into fixed European-style meals. To the settlers, this looked disorderly. But it was not disorder. It was a different relationship with food. The Europeans often judged it through their own cultural bias. And that bias matters because eventually European eating patterns would spread with empire, trade, colonization, religion, and industry. But the real engine behind 3 meals a day was not ancient wisdom. It was organization. It was the clock. One of the earliest major institutions to formalize 3 meals was the British Royal Navy. On a ship, everything had to run on schedule. Work shifts, rations, discipline, physical labor, survival at sea. Sailors needed predictable food at predictable times because the ship itself was a machine made of humans, ropes, sails, hunger, and rules. So breakfast, a midday meal, and an evening meal made practical sense. Not because the human body magically demanded exactly 3 meals, because the institution demanded order. And that is the key. 3 meals a day became powerful when human life became scheduled. Then came the Industrial Revolution. Starting in Britain in the 1700s and spreading across Europe and North America, it changed not just work, but time itself. Before factories, many people worked with seasons, daylight, weather, animals, land, and household rhythms. There was hard work, but time was not always chopped into identical blocks. Factory life changed that. Now people clocked in, they clocked out. Machines did not care if you were hungry. The bell decided, the schedule decided, the shift decided. And suddenly 3 meals fit perfectly. Breakfast before work, lunch during the break, dinner after the shift. That is the modern meal structure taking shape, not in the stomach, in the factory. Breakfast became more important because skipping food before a 10 or 12-hour day of labor was not spiritual discipline anymore. It was miserable. Lunch became the fuel stop in the middle of the work machine. And dinner moved later because people were no longer free to eat the main meal at midday. They were working. So the biggest meal migrated into the evening. The family gathered after the workday. The table became the place where the day finally came back together. By the 1800s, this rhythm became more and more normal. Cities grew, factories grew, office work grew, schools followed schedules, trains followed schedules. Life became more synchronized. And once the world runs on clocks, food starts running on clocks too. Then came the final push, marketing. In the early 20th century, breakfast was transformed again. John Harvey Kellogg and other cereal makers helped turn the morning meal into a daily ritual. Cornflakes and other cereals were sold not just as food, but as health, discipline, cleanliness, modernity, and convenience. The slogan that breakfast was the most important meal of the day spread widely, and it worked because cereal was fast, it was easy, it fit the modern morning. Pour it in a bowl, add milk, eat, leave. A factory-age breakfast for a factory-age life. So now the pattern was complete. Breakfast before the day starts, lunch in the middle, dinner after work. 3 meals, clean, repeatable, marketable, normal. But here is the question that matters. Does your body actually need 3 meals a day? The answer is more interesting than yes or no. Your body does not simply count meals. It responds to rhythm. Inside you is a 24-hour clock called the circadian rhythm. It helps control sleep, hunger, body temperature, hormones, blood sugar, digestion, and energy. Your body is not equally ready for food at every hour. In the morning and daytime, your metabolism is generally better prepared to handle meals. Your body tends to process glucose more efficiently earlier in the day. Insulin sensitivity is usually stronger. Your muscles and liver are more ready to use incoming energy. But eat the same heavy meal late at night, and your body may respond differently. Blood sugar can rise higher, digestion may feel worse, sleep can be disturbed, fat storage signals can change. This is why the timing of food matters, not because 3 is magic, but because the body likes rhythm. Your hunger hormones also learn your habits. If you eat every day at the same time, your body begins preparing before the food arrives. You may feel hungry at noon not only because your stomach is empty, but because your body has learned that noon means food. It predicts, it prepares, it expects. That is why changing meal times can feel strange at first. Your biology is flexible, but it is not random. It loves patterns. So 2 meals can work for some people. 3 meals can work for many people. 4 smaller meals can work for others. The number itself is not sacred. What matters is whether the rhythm fits your body, your health, your work, your sleep, and your life. But biology is not the whole story. Food has never been only fuel. For tens of thousands of years, eating together has been one of the most human things we do. Before offices, before factories, before restaurants, before cereal boxes, people gathered around food to create trust. A shared meal told the group, we are safe right now. We have enough right now. We belong to each other right now. That is still true. A meal can be a meeting, a peace offering, a family ritual, a date, a celebration, a memory, a reason to sit together in a world constantly pulling people apart. So maybe 3 meals a day survived not only because of work, clocks, industry, and advertising. Maybe it also survived because it gives humans repeated chances to come back together. Morning, midday, evening. 3 small rituals against the chaos of the day. So why do we eat 3 meals a day? Because hunter-gatherers did not have guaranteed food. Because agriculture made planning possible. Because ancient cultures experimented with different rhythms. Because religion shaped when eating was acceptable. Because sailors needed order. Because factories turned time into a machine. Because cities, schools, offices, and trains synchronized daily life. Because cereal companies sold breakfast as a modern necessity. And because the human body, while not demanding 3 meals exactly, does respond deeply to timing and rhythm. 3 meals a day is not natural law, but it is not meaningless either. It is history on a plate. It is agriculture, empire, religion, industry, marketing, biology, and family life all folded into one ordinary day. Tomorrow morning, you may wake up and eat breakfast again. At noon, you may reach for lunch. At night, you may sit down for dinner. And now, you will know that you are not just eating. You are participating in a schedule humans slowly built over thousands of years. One bite at a time,